right, so we got the Jeep on the jack stands, ready to go. I'm ready to start this install. One of my favorite things about these 8100s is Bilstein does include a super detailed, full color instruction sheet, which makes the install that much easier. One of the first steps that Bilstein has you do is install these Rivnuts into factory holes on the frame. You don't need a Rivnut tool. Bilstein does show you how to do the how to set the Rivnuts in their instruction sheet, and you can see that right here. We're going to start off with the 1/4 inch threaded nutsert. You're going to want to put that together in a picture here. And then you're going to want to insert your assembly into this hole that's right under this bigger hole. And then once you have that that threaded nutsert in there, you're going to want to make sure that that threaded insert is flush to the frame of the Jeep. And then you're going to take a 7/16 inch wrench, and you're going to want to tighten it, turn it 2 full turns to get that nutsert to expand. And once you got that in there, you can go ahead and loosen that 1/4 inch bolt. And then you're going to want to take your other threaded nutsert. This is kind of machined to match with the holes here at the very bottom. You're going to put that into place. Make sure that threaded nutsert is flat against the frame. And you're going to take your 1/2 inch wrench, and just like you did with the first one, you make 2 full turns to get that threaded nutsert to expand, and you're ready to put on the reservoir mounting brackets. Once you got those Rivnuts installed, you're going to go ahead and install the reservoir hose routing bracket. To do that, you're just going to locate the factory hole in front of the coil spring bucket. And once you find that hole, you're just going to take the reservoir hose mounting bracket with the included Bilstein hardware and set that into place. Now, once you got that bracket in place, you're going to go ahead and move over to the shock side of things. All right, now that you got your reservoir hose mounting bracket in place, it's time to put these bad boys on. We're going to start off with putting the upper mount in place first. And to do so, you're going to take the included silver spacer that Bilstein has in the kit and your original OEM mounting bolt. And you're just going to go ahead and slide this into place. You want to make sure that this silver spacer goes behind the shock. Once you got that in place, you're going to take your 18mm and tighten that down. Now, once you got that upper mount in place, you're going to use the lower shock relocators that Bilstein includes. What this does is it spaces out the lower shock mount a little bit further away from the frame. Because these shocks are a bit bigger than your OEM shocks, this will help provide with some additional clearance. Now, once you got that relocation bracket fit into place, you're just going to take an Allen to secure the bottom bolt, and then a 13mm socket to get everything tightened up. And then you're going to want to take the black aluminum spacer that's included with the kit and put it where the old factory shock mounting location. And then you're also going to take your new bolt, longer bolt that Bilstein includes, and slide that through the relocation mount and the black spacer. And you're just going to take your Allen and an 18mm wrench to get the lower mount tightened up. All right, now that you got your shock in place, we're going to go ahead and get to installing the reservoir. To do so, we're going to install the reservoir mounting bracket on the Rivnuts that we had installed previously. I'm going to start off by loosely threading on the lower mount, or the lower hole on the mount. And once you have that on there, you can go ahead and slide in the reservoir into the bracket. And slide that all the way down. And you're going to take your other mounting bolt for the bracket and insert that into the top Rivnut that we installed previously. You're going to want to take a 10mm. Now these, when tightening these reservoir mounting brackets, you want to make sure that you're not over tightening them, because you can strip the Rivnuts. You just want to make sure you get these nice and snug. Once you got that upper mount bolt in, you're going to slide your reservoir up and take your 13mm socket and tighten the lower bolt. Now, Bilstein recommends leaving about a 40mm space here. So you're going to want to get that close, and then you're going to take your Allen and snug that bracket mount into place. Once you have the reservoir tightened up, you're going to take your reservoir hose clamp, kind of spread that apart and slide it over the hose. All right, got this tightened down. Now it's time to move over to the other side. The only difference between this passenger side and the driver's side is there's a little bit different of a reservoir hose mounting bracket, but you can't see that in the instruction sheet. Now we're just going to torque everything down and do the work on the other side, and then we're going to move over to the back. All right, guys, we are in the back of the Jeep right now. It's going to be a pretty simple install on this side of things. We're going to start off with the upper mount first. You're going to want to take your shock and kind of leave the reservoir hanging, and then, you know, take your silver shock spacer, and this is going to go behind the shock, in between the frame and the shock mount. Once you got that in place, you're ready to move down to the lower mount. All right, now that you are at the lower mount, these new Bilsteins are a little bit longer than our previous shocks that we had here. So what you can do is you could take pry bar, or in my case, a small screwdriver, to kind of coerce the lower mount into place. Make sure that we are reusing the factory hardware down at the bottom. And take your 18mm socket, your 18mm wrench, and tighten everything down. Once you got that lower bolt in place, it's time to put on the reservoir and the reservoir mount. now that we have the upper mount and the lower mount bolted in, we're going to go ahead and take the reservoir mount and slide that over the reservoir. And on the back of your frame, you're going to see two existing nuts or weld nuts on the frame. And you're going to use those two weld nuts to mount this reservoir mount in. You're going to take your factory M10 bolt, and you're going to start off with doing the top one first. That way you have room to get in there with a wrench, and you'll be able to tighten everything down. And you're going to take your 18mm wrench, get that bolt tightened down. Once you have the upper mount, or the upper bolt on the reservoir mount tightened down, you're going to want to take your second bolt on for the lower and get that threaded on. And once you have those two bolts tightened down, you're going to want to take your Allen and make sure your reservoir clamp is tightened down onto the reservoir itself. The top of the reservoir, you want to make sure you have about 40mm or about 1 3/4 of space showing. And once you got the reservoir locked in place, you're ready to throw the wheels and tires back on and hit the trail.